Welcome to Driving to College, where today we'll be talking about how to find the best fit college for your student who's looking for college. Today we'll be driving around campus in a 2020 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited with the Renegade package that I picked up from a rental car company. That one's a lot of fun to drive. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to get it off-road and get it dirty, but I sure did enjoy the drive. It's got a little bit of punch and pep on the interstate, a lot of style. It's a lot of fun to drive around campus. Today, the campus that we'll be cruising around is the University of Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky. One of the really neat things about this university that I noticed was that you just don't see many older buildings. They've done a really good job over the years of apparently replacing the older brick university-style buildings with newer brick university-style buildings. Later on in the video, you'll see the two buildings that I saw that were a little older, 1940s, said they were built. One of them is their physical plant operation, and the other, I think, is an art building. But if you notice on this tour, you will see a lot of buildings that have been built that are new, including the residence complex. And if you look closely, you will see some orange fencing of some older maybe 1970s style buildings that are, I think, coming down pretty soon. So let's talk a little bit about fit. One of the most used buzzwords that you've probably heard in the college search process is fit. You might have heard people say, oh, it's so important to find the right fit college, or, well, you really should go visit a campus to see if it's a good fit for you. And I admit I totally agree with all those statements. Finding the right fit is incredibly important. I think it's key. I think a good fit school increases the potential for success, enjoyment, graduation, and ideally all of those without transferring. Transferring isn't the end of the world, but it definitely typically costs some credits and units and can extend the whole college experience. So I think finding a good fit is key. So in this video, we're going to help you with some tips on how to figure out what a good fit is for your son or daughter as you try to help them find college. So we'll talk a little bit about what does fit mean, whose fit are we talking about, and how do you know if a school is a good fit? But before we get to all that, there's some steps that I think are really important for you as a family to think about prior to focusing on fit. And really that comes down to family communication. So I think before you can start talking about fit, it's probably good to get everybody around a table and sit down and have some conversations. I think you'll want to talk about money, of course, and you'll want to say, for our family, what is a good money fit? Are we willing to borrow some money? What kind of savings do we have built up over the years? What kind of debt do we think is realistic and possible for our student to incur while they are getting their college degree? I also think in some sort of roundtable decision, and I would include in a roundtable decision really anybody in the family who's going to have an active voice or an active role in helping choose. Some families that's mom and the child. Some parents that's just dad and the child. Some families that's both parents or four parents. Some families that will include grandparents, uncles, aunts, siblings. Whatever your family is, kind of whatever the core decision-making group is for your family, it's important to have some conversations early on before you even think about fit. And I think it's important to talk about why go to college. Sometimes in our society, the assumption is that the student will go to college, and not everybody should go to college. Here are some reasons that you should talk about as why to go to college. Is it because you want to get a certain job for the rest of your career that requires a college degree? Sometimes it'll be about life experience. There's a value in the college experience for life. Some families, social standing will be really important, that the families that you are friends with and the people that you're friends with go to college and assume that you'll go to college, and there's a certain social standing aspect of that. That goes hand in hand. Sometimes family expectation is key. I talked to a student recently who's a senior in high school, and I asked her, does your family talk about college? Do they expect you to go to college? And she said, oh yeah, they expect me to go to college for sure. So that was for her part of it. She hadn't applied anywhere yet in spring of her senior year, but there's still time. but she definitely knew that her family expected her to do that. Another reason to go to college that's legitimate is just to have fun. It's more important for some members of your family around the table than others, likely, but it can be a reason. For some families, the opportunity to play collegiate athletics at any level is an important reason. And for some students, I think an important reason is simply to move out of the house, to get out of the house and begin kind of transitioning to adulthood where they will live on their own. So those, I think, are important things to talk through as a family. The money, and then the reasons for college, and what's the underlying thought process on why you jump into the college search and affordability process, and then obviously the choosing and the attending and the work, the graduating, and all that good stuff. I have one activity that I'd like to share with you for finding fit. This activity may not be perfect for everybody, and if you're listening to this video, you may decide, well, we don't necessarily want to do it exactly the way that is mentioned, but there's some helpful tools here. So use it however you want. I've used it. I think it can be super helpful. So the activity goes like this. Again, you'll want to get all the key decision makers in your family system around a table, and I would have everybody have a piece of paper and some sort of writing utensil. By that I mean a pencil or a pen or a Sharpie or, something that they like to write with. It doesn't matter what it is, just so long as it writes. And so then what I'm going to say is, after you do the activity, my recommendation is that everybody writes first. So write down what they remember talking about or thinking about in the activity, and then you talk second. So here's the activity. I'll go through it. If you decide you want to actually do it the way I say it, you can always pause and pull back at some point and have your family go through it. Otherwise, I'm going to walk through it, and then we'll kind of debrief why we do that and what are some keys that you might be looking for, and then we'll move on. So the activity goes like this. Everybody's around the table. They've got paper and writing, but those are in front of them, and they're not using them now. And then I would encourage everybody, okay, everybody close your eyes. We're going to do an imaginative activity. So we want you to imagine that we're 3 years in the future from right now, and the family is visiting the student at college. So we want you to visualize and imagine 3 years from now, a family visit at college. And the goal is, in your imagination, to see the pictures, to visualize, to actually know what your mind is creating visually while we do this. So on this campus visit, try to visualize in your mind and your imagination, what does the campus look like that the family's visiting? What do you see on campus? All right, so think a little bit about that. What does the campus that you're visiting look like? What sounds do you hear on campus? Mom and Dad are visiting, and what are the background noises that you might hear on campus? Maybe it's traffic, helicopters, maybe it's birds, wind in the trees, birds singing. What do you hear in the background? Where are you on campus? So the family has come to visit. Where are you? Visualize, where are you? Are you inside? If you're inside, what type of building are you in? Are you outside? If you're outside, where are you outside? What is around you? What does that space look like? How big is the campus? So how big is the campus that the families come to visit? Can you walk all the way around the outside of the campus in 20 minutes? Would you have to take an Uber to get all the way around the outside of the campus? And are there a lot of people around? Still with your eyes closed and visualizing, think about, how long did it take the family to get to the school from home? How long of a drive was it? Or did they have to fly? Or did they just take an Uber to visit you on campus? How long of a trip was it from home? And finally, the last thing is before Dad got to the visit, he went to the bookstore or the campus store on campus and he bought himself a hoodie. What does it say on the front of the hoodie? Does it say Wildcat Dad? Something like that. If you're really specific, maybe you already know. What college does it say? So then that would conclude the general questions I would have in that activity. And then what I would ask everybody to do is, as honest as possible, to go back through and write down what they remember visualizing through those questions. So you'd say, what did your mind's eye tell you what the campus looked like? What did it sound like? What did you hear? Where were you on campus? Were you inside? And if so, what building? Were you outside? If so, where and what was around you? How big was the campus? How long did it take the family to get to the school from home? And maybe what does Dad's hoodie say on the front of it? So then once everybody's written that down, then you simply talk about what everybody has written down and give everybody a chance to kind of go through theirs so that you can begin to compare what does everybody have in mind when they think of college. Because everybody brings certain assumptions and certain ideals of what the college is going to look like. So, sometimes when I've done this on the how long did it take the family to get to the school, I've had a parent say, well, it didn't take long because we were meeting around our kitchen table because he or she is living at home. So, and then on the same table, somebody else, usually the student will say, well, they had to fly out to visit me because, I'm really far away. And sometimes I've had the dad will say, well, the hoodie says Wildcats on it because, we've always been fans of the Wildcats. They're like Wildcats all over the country. So it could be a bunch of schools. But those things are all important because now you know where people are coming from in your family system when they think about college. And you can begin to work out how that looks, what that means for the actual choice, what's important within the family system as you begin to look through this. And it'll kind of help you talk through things and be less confused. And you don't have to try to hope that other people assume the same things as you, or you don't have to guess, well, what are they thinking when we're talking about college? It just helps you know, and then you can begin to prioritize each person's role and seeing essentially where you can try to find one that hits as close to everybody's expectation as possible. So now that you've done that imaginative experience or activity, let's go back to fit and let's talk about some key areas to consider when you're thinking about the right fit college. Of course, the first one would be a financial fit. So if you have, as a family system, worked out a little bit in your mind about what type of financial situation you're looking at for college, whether or not you want to borrow, how much you're willing to borrow, whether or not you can pay some out of pocket, all those types of things, then you'll kind of know, all right, here's the range that we're looking at, and you'll have an opportunity to either cut some out that are clearly too much money or add some in that you thought might have been but may fit. The thing to remember about that is that the financial cost of every school is different than what they list as their tuition. So if a school is you're interested in a school and they're interested in you, and you think it might be too pricey, I'd still recommend going ahead and applying, filling out the FAFSA, letting them have access to the FAFSA info to get a sense of what the final cost will be for that school. But a financial fit is really important. Another key aspect of fit has to do with the academic major. So if a student knows what they want to study or is fairly dialed into something in a range, so perhaps engineering or pre-med, some sort of thing like that, maybe art or music or writing, you want to make sure that the school offers a decent major in what you think you want to study, knowing that, of course, sometimes those plans change. But if you start at a school that doesn't offer what the student's interested in, of course, then you either will have to change majors or pick a different school. So having the major that you want is important, as well as is family history or legacy. Do you have people in your family that have gone to one school over the years? And is that important? Is it important for the student to continue on with a legacy of attendance at a certain school? And who is it important to? Is it more important to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa than it might be to the student themselves? And how much is that going to play into the final choice? I think another area to consider as far as fit is what different people in the family think about the prestige of the school. This one can be a little tough because there are some great schools that aren't nationally prestigious where you get a wonderful education that prepares you either for a career or grad school. And then there are some schools who have incredible reputation, and really all you have to do is graduate from that school to open doors. Those are typically the Ivy League or Washington University in St. Louis, or Rice University, or of course Stanford and some of the West Coast UC schools. And that's important. Think about that. How important is that? Are you often willing to pay for the prestige factor? And what role is prestige going to play? Then other things would be size of school. Is it a major research university like Kentucky that we're driving past, where it does take a lot of time to drive around the campus? Or is it a medium-sized school with about 10,000? A lot of really great regional state universities that would be a part of a state university system that provide a great education with enough options and opportunities, but aren't so large that it can feel overwhelming, but they're large enough that you don't know everybody on campus. And sometimes it might be super small where you do know everybody on campus and you're working with PhD faculty who are teaching the classrooms, and you're not dealing constantly with large classes that are in reality taught by graduate students while the professor is off doing research and publishing. So size is important. Location is important too. We talked about that. Where is it? How far away from home? How close to home? Is it in a place where there are other family members to provide some support? Is it in a place where there are beaches or mountains or rivers or lakes or prairies and plains? All sorts of stuff are important. I meant plains more than airplanes, but that may be important for somebody too. Another piece of fit to consider is, does the student have friends attending? Are there a group of friends that they've made in high school that are all saying that they're going to attend a certain school? And how important is that? Is it important to go with friends to school, or is it more important to kind of make a break and strike out on their own and make friends in a new location and kind of chart their own path? So friends attending. A couple other things that are important for fit might be playing time. Is the student looking to be an athlete and do intercollegiate athletics? And if so, is it a program where they'll be able to play and get a scholarship versus the biggest level, highest level that the student could possibly be on the team at, but maybe not play? So playing time, as well is the role of auditions and capacity to perform at the school, either in theater or in music or art or those types of things. So that might be, do you fit with coaches? Do you fit with the musicians or the directors that you'll be studying under and learning from in other areas of performance? Those are all really important parts of fit as well. So that's a lot of conversation about fit in a lot of areas, and the reality is that fit is not one size fits all. It is more of an art than a science, and it probably will be different for everybody that listens or watches this video, that all those things are going to factor to create the right fit for you. And really what this project was designed to do is kind of narrow it down so that you're within a range where you've got a manageable number of schools that you're looking at. And so my final tip while you're thinking about fit is, if you're down to those 3 schools that are all within range and they all make sense on paper, then I want you to get on campus and trust your gut. So when you're on campus, every school is going to be telling you all sorts of wonderful things about their school with data and charts and graphs and pictures and brochures and wonderful things. And every school will have that. Every school has green grass and trees and buildings and some place to eat and a place to play. But what you want to do on your campus visits is listen to your gut or your heart. If when you're done visiting, you're driving away and people are excited and think, man, that was great. We love that place. There's just something great about that. I wish school was starting tomorrow. I wish I was graduating and going to college here. Well, pay attention to that. If, on the other hand, while you're driving away, one or two or more of the family is like, I don't know what it was, but something just didn't feel right there. There was just something that didn't work for me. Well, then you'll want to pay attention to that and see if you can figure out what it is that's causing that. That will probably tip you really close to being able to figure out your top choice school once you've narrowed it down to two or three. And then once you have your top choice school, figure out the financial aid and the payments and get enrolled for classes. And then you'll want to focus on graduating. So we'll have tips on how to make sure you graduate, get the most out of your experience in another video. But I hope this has been helpful to all of you as you're thinking about what is the right fit college for our son or daughter, or if you are the son or daughter, what is the right fit college for me that also works with my family, that you're going to feel good about. You want to feel good about the school you're going to because that'll make a huge difference to help you succeed and enjoy and learn. So along the journey, I wish you the best of luck. And feel free to subscribe and like this video and check out some of the other ones. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the journey.